about quality care for people with disabilities and older adults. It's about quality of life for people with disabilities to live in the community, to make choices, to do what they do. It's about the quality that they are able to get because of a dedicated core of about 91,000 caregivers across the state of Minnesota. And each and every one of those folks, I hope will benefit at the end of this legislation. And what's even more important is 90,000 people with disabilities and older adults will see the quality of their care maintained, because you haven't had an increase in several years. Many of you need to leave maybe for other jobs. You need an increase so that you can do the work you love and you can do it, give the kind of quality care to our people with disabilities and older adults that they deserve. Now the first hearing is tomorrow in the House of Representatives. But our work isn't done. It's going to be a while. There will be hearing after hearing in the House and the Senate. And then in May, Governor Dayton signs a bill that gives you a 5% increase. But in order for that to happen, they got to hear you. They've got to hear you today. And you got to keep in touch with them. 5%, it's 5%. So today, whenever anybody up here, or I'm up here, and I raise this hand, we say, what do we want? And this hand is 5%. What do we want? 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 5%. Now, I told you the hearings start tomorrow. And so the next two people I want to bring up are the two chief authors of our bill, of your bill, the bill for a 5% increase for home and community-based services. These two fellows have been dedicated over year after year on your behalf, and they're leading the charge to get you a 5% increase. So I want to bring up, and please give a warm, loud welcome to Representative Jerry Newton and Senator Kent Eakin, the chief authors of our bill.
Kent and I were standing back here and we couldn't hear what it is that you want. Can you repeat for us? Can anyone that's in this building. Thank you all for coming out. And I really want to thank Bruce and Steve Larson for the incredible job that they have done in going from door to door in the legislature, talking with every single legislator, getting them to sign on to the bills. I have here a list of 84 members of the House out of 137 who have signed on to the bill. A clear majority. I believe it's the same in the Senate, that we have a clear majority of people supporting. I have not heard one person who is not in support of the bill. Some just haven't had time to get to us yet. I want to thank you all for what you do, day in and day out. You know, the term caregiver is a term that we throw around, but as I go to the group homes in my area to visit with Jody and John Anderson and the people that they have in their home, they really care. They care about the people that they're serving. And we cannot afford to lose the good caregivers because we're not paying them a decent salary. This is what we hope to do. We hope to give them the extra 5%. I want to give a shout out to Mary T. I see the sign up there. Jessica Andrus is back here. I've been working with Mary T. for over 20 years on this as she goes with her community of caring. Thank you all. Keep up the work. We've got a couple more days yet. The bills are heard tomorrow, so keep it up. Thank you all.
Thank you. And I want to thank my partner, Representative Newton, for his efforts and the hard work he's putting into this, and all the other legislators who have signed on to these bills. This is going to give us a lot of momentum moving forward. And there's a lot of reasons for this momentum. We've got a lot of momentum going now. We need to keep this going, and this rally will go a long ways towards doing that. One of the things that's given us momentum is that there is a surplus now for us to work with. It took away the main argument against doing something this year, which is that it's not a budget year. This isn't normally the year that we spend money, but we have a surplus this year. We have enough money to get the 5%, and there's going to be a lot of competing interests out there, but I think this should be priority number one. The reason is that the wages for those providing these long-term care services have been too low for too long. And there's a lot of things that are working for us this time around. Like I said, the surplus is one of them. One thing too, you know that there's another issue that's being promoted here, the minimum wage increase. And I see a lot of pins with people promoting the minimum wage saying, raise the wage. And every time I see that, I think of you folks, because we need to raise the wage for long-term care providers in the state of Minnesota. They're going to get that wage increase is if we pass this bill. So that's another thing that's, I've been saying that as a state, in Minnesota, we should do more than just raise the minimum wage. We need to put our money where our mouths are and practice what we preach. If we really believe in raising wages, we need to practice what we preach and pass this bill. And the biggest reason for the momentum that we're experiencing this year is because of you and because of your voices being heard in the process. I want you to know that your voice is being heard, that what you say matters, and that being here today is really important for the passage and success of this bill. I've seen the important role that long-term care providers provide in the waivers services for those with disabilities and for seniors in their homes. I've seen it from a personal perspective, and I visited a lot of group homes, and I had a brother that was mentally disabled. He's no longer with us. He passed away many years ago, and the man who was teaching him, his name is Maury. He was teaching him at the time that this happened. And he was very, very motivated to take care of those and to teach those children with these special needs. And I still remember the card that he wrote to our family afterwards about all his memories. My brother was more than just a student to him. And I saw him again this summer. He was working at a group home for CCRI in Moorhead. It shows the level of commitment and dedication that these people have. He's obviously not doing it for the money. He's doing it because he knows what he's doing is important, not just to the lives of those he's providing care for, but to their families and their communities as well. I think that we need to show the same level of dedication to our long-term care providers that Maury has shown to those he's taken care of and provided services for all these years. So with that, I want to thank you so much for the work you've done to make this a success. The momentum is with us. Let's keep it up. And one last thing, this isn't the end of it. I see this as just a first step, a good first step to addressing a long-standing inequity in our state, to make sure that we leave no one behind, that everyone in this state is treated fairly and equitably. There are no second-class citizens in Minnesota, and this bill will be a first step towards achieving that.
Are the chairs of the Health and Human Services Finance Committees. They make decisions about how They are both passionately and deeply dedicated to people with disabilities and older adults. One of them was even there at the press conference up in Duluth. He's from Duluth, way back last summer. And that's Representative Tom Huntley. He's been there since day one. And Senator Tony Laurie, who chairs the committee in the Senate, understands, cares deeply about people with disabilities in his own family and here in policy making at the state capitol. So ultimately, when our bill goes through the committee process, it'll be in their committees where those final decisions are made. They're great champions of yours. Please welcome Representative Tom Huntley and Senator Tony Laurie.
Well, it's a real pleasure to see this crowd because I told your leaders last year that was the biggest disappointment of the session last year was that we did not treat people who work with people with disabilities the same as we treated people that work at nursing homes. And that is a huge issue for me because you do basically the same kind of work. And the two groups have to compete with each other for who they're going to hire. And I'm very interested in the quality that is provided by the workers. And the workers have to know the people in the disability community as individuals. They have to know what their particular issues are, and they're all different.
I'll give it to you,
And
Cassandra.
if you have employees only lasting for 3 months, they're never going to get to know the people they're really working with. So that was a huge issue for me, and we're really brief. In fact, one of my heroes was a representative from Duluth named Willard Munger, who was here for 44 years, I believe. And when he got really excited about a bill, he would get up on the House floor and say, "It's a good bill, vote for it." Thank you.
Well, I want to just start by thanking you for coming down and being such an energetic rally to help the members of the legislature understand what it is before us. I see a sign back here that says it's time to repay years of cuts, 5% in 2014. It is. We've had over a decade of cuts to the Health and Human Services budget, and it makes a difference in people's lives, and yours are the lives that it makes a difference in. And so by having you come and tell your stories, your lives matter. All of our lives matter. In Minnesota, we as a legislature work very, very hard to support every single Minnesotan in where they live and where they work and in our family structures. We have actually one of the best home and community-based settings in the country. It's something that we've worked very hard on. It's something that we're very proud of. We have work to do. We need to pay a better wage for those who support people with disabilities and those living in other long-term care settings for elderly. And we need to make sure that we listen to how the decisions that we make. Representative Huntley, a dear friend of mine, and we have very difficult decisions to make, but they have profound effects on people's lives. And only if we have people coming and helping the legislature understand the effects are we going to be able to meet success in actually paying back the years of cuts that have been made and being able to make a real difference and take a meaningful step forward. And so I look forward to continued stories. I look forward to hearing more of your stories as we go through the day. And thank you again for taking time out of your important days to come down and share your stories here with all of us. Your stories make a huge difference. Your lives make a difference to all of Minnesota. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Laurie. Services Committee in the Senate. And I've got to tell you that while he was chair of that committee and now as minority leader, there is no issue, no priority larger in health and human services than you. People with disabilities, caregivers, you are number one on his list. And so, folks, it is my honor to introduce to you Senator David Hand.
Thank you. Thank you for being here today. I remember it wasn't that long ago, last fall, that you were gathered here. It looks like even a bigger group today. And this is the time when it counts. I know we've been working at this for some time, and there were concerns about whether our budget could handle this, but it can. And I want you to know, people on our side, in our caucus, we are very committed to making sure this happens. We understand the difference this makes in the lives of people who are helping to provide the care that is so desperately needed around our state, and we want to get this done today. And I want to thank my friend Debbie's out there, and I want to just thank you for being here today. Good to see you again. Thank you, Debbie. She is a great friend and works at Opportunity Partners. Thank you. And thank you all. Thank you all, the caregivers who spend your time and devotion to helping the people who need the care. And thank all the rest of you for being here today. It's very important as you go around and meet with senators and representatives to make sure they understand the priority that this is. And you got it right. There's no higher priority on our side to making sure this happens this year, and we will get it done. Thank you again for all your work, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Senator Hand. Well, our next speaker rolls up. And you remember, what do we want? What do we want? What do we want? 5%. 5%. Not 4, not 3. We want 5%. Folks, our next speaker is a remarkable person. She's an accomplished artist, and many of you may have seen her work. Just a terrific human being. And she's sold many, many pieces of her art. And an outspoken, great self-advocate, Mary Bottleson, ladies and gentlemen. and the bill passed, and so you never saw that cut. And the author of that bill, and a friend of yours, Senator David Brown, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome and thank you for being here today. You know what, last fall when you were here, I asked you this question. We have a way to pay for the 5% increase. There's a group of people that want to build a new Senate office building. If we didn't do that, we could pay for this 5% increase. Is a new Senate office building more important than a 5% increase? No, it is not. But you know what's even better? Now we have a budget surplus, and we have two ways to pay for the 5% increase. Even if they insist on doing a new Senate office building and putting that ahead of this priority, we have a budget surplus and we can pay for the 5% increase. Using that budget surplus is one way that we can give back to taxpayers the money that they've paid in. Funding this 5% increase helps give a very paltry increase to those of you who serve the adults with mental disabilities and those of you who work in our nursing homes. This needs to be our top priority. We have the money to do it, and I say, let's get it done this year.
How good's your memory? Do you remember what this means? What do we want? What do we want? Well, you guys are making so much noise, and there's so many of you that we've got a lot of legislators who are stopping by and saying, I want to talk too. I've got fire in my belly and passion in my heart in 1998, our good friends in Anoka elected Representative Jim Abler. Representative Abler, year after year, ultimately as chair of the Health and Human Services Finance Committee, has been in dialogue, in conversation with us year after year, day after day, as he's tried to do everything he can for quality services for people, for adequate funding for caregivers, adequate funding for quality care across the state of Minnesota for people with disabilities. One of Jim Abler's good friends, he's a great friend of all of ours, is going to come up with him and share a few words too. I think the person who's coming up is, in my estimation, maybe the best lobbyist the disability community has. He is a phenomenal spokesperson for all of you. So, Representative Jim Abler, and ladies and gentlemen, Kurt Rexon.
Hello, Minnesota. How are you today? My name is Kurt Rexon. I know a lot of you. Just want to say I support fully and so much more the 5% campaign. And we are going to do it today for all of Minnesota, not just some of Minnesota, everybody in Minnesota. Now I want to turn it over to my great friend and colleague here, really, Jim Abler.
Well, it's awesome you're here. Now we're going to do a little choreography. Everybody do this. Just practice this. Okay. Put up your arm. Okay, then you're going to say, I am. That's your thing. I'm going to ask you. Yeah. Okay. Who's awesome? I am. That was a good start. Who's awesome? I am. That was pretty good. And so the governor is in his office and he closes the door a lot. Later we'll shout to help him wake up. And so, how many of you are worth 5% more? How many of you are worth 10% more? You guys really like that one. And so, how many of you are going to go home with a raise at the end of session? Absolutely. Now, actually, how many of you are special? How many of you love your mother? Yeah. Anyway, so you're going to travel around the Capitol today, and so you want to remember, you own this place. I represent you, Kurt represents you, all the people you've heard spoken love you dearly, and so do I. And so you want to know when you walk around, you're loved, you're very important, and you're special to all of us. And there's people here with special needs, some service people, some directors and parents and children and all that. And it's really on our mind about how to best make sure everybody gets what they need to be all they can be, right? Actually, who's going to be all they can be? Who's going to keep on doing their best no matter how hard the day is? Who's going to love their neighbor as their own self? Who's going to always work their hardest to make the world
doesn't belong to the governor, it doesn't belong to legislators any more than it belongs to all of you, to all of us. But I do hang around here quite a bit. And I've begun to hear some mumbling, well, you know, we could maybe do 4%. What do we say to 4%? 5%. Not 4, 5%. 5%. 5%. Now, our next speaker, Chris Groska, and he's getting ready to talk here. I want to ask you, how many of you folks attended a town meeting or met with legislators since last June? How many of you? Well, one of the persons who was there time after time after time is Chris Groska. And he spoke passionately and effectively on his behalf and on your behalf, on all of our behalves, all people with all abilities. He's in the last year or two, and he'll tell you his story, started a nonprofit and a business. It's a nonprofit that is up and running and doing great things for people. And in his spare time, he's advocating here at the Capitol. He's talking to his legislators like you have been doing. And he's one of the reasons that we're all here today with a strong support from so many legislators. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Groska.
Thank you, everybody. And let me just say, to hear and see all of the energy that is here in the rotunda today, fighting for the 5% campaign and for the rights of disabled people everywhere, it's really exciting for me to see. So I'm very happy to see all of you here. About almost 10 years ago, I began my road to independence. When I was 19 years old, I moved out of my mom and dad's house and into the Mary T. organization because they saw that as I got older, they lived in a 5-level split home that was not very accessible to me. So as I got older, they began to see that it was harder for me to get around. And so when I was 19 years old, they moved me into the Mary T. organization. I started out in the Mary T. organization at a facility called CC Parkview, which is a group setting for disabled people to come together and further their skills and their independence. After about 3 years in that part of Mary T., I moved to a supported living setting at an apartment. There, through the help of my direct support professionals, some of which are in the audience today, I thrived at the apartments and was able to further my skills. After I lived at the apartments for a few years, it was time for yet another change. I am proud to announce that I just recently moved into a townhome. Thank you. I'm only able to do this because of the help that my direct support professionals and my PCAs provide me on a daily basis. Each year, I've come to the Capitol independently in my everyday life. Last year, I lost one of my staff because she chose to take a job at a tanning salon where she would make more money. I would like to say that with these long cold winters, and boy, this has been a long one, it might be very hard to compete with a tanning salon. So this is why I am here in support of all of you and the 5% campaign. Like Bruce mentioned earlier, because of the help of my direct care staff, I was able to start my nonprofit organization called Cheers to Stop Tears. And we are on Facebook. So, now that I've started Cheers to Stop Tears, it makes me feel good because the community has given me so much help in the past. And now I'm able to give help back to them. So it's kind of like paying it forward. And I really do enjoy that. So I think it is very important to support that 5% campaign because these direct support professionals have not had a raise in pay for well over 5 years. And I think we've got to change that, and it's got to start right now. So we've got to use our voices and raise them up so everybody can hear us from out here in this rotunda. We need that 5% campaign. Thank you.
Can you hear me now? Yeah. One quick announcement is Matt Sharp. If you're here, some people need a ride, so come back behind the stage here, Matt Sharp. Okay? Now, our next speaker, and he pops in every year, and we're so grateful that he does. He was elected to the Senate in 1986. And year after year, even when we were facing dramatic state deficits, in the billions of dollars, our next speaker said, yeah, but we got to take care of people with disabilities. We might be in a deficit, but we've got to find a way to make sure that caregivers and people with disabilities get an increase. Year after year, he's done that. He's always been your champion. Ladies and gentlemen, Senator John Marty.
You've been here a long time today. I'm glad to see such a loud and such a vocal crowd today. Caregivers matter. This state has an obligation to do better than we've been doing. Got these 5% buttons, or sometimes 5, we could say 5 plus 5. You know, if we did a 55% increase,
start treating people as the human beings, the dignity that we all deserve. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the work you do. Thank you for speaking out.
Well, right now we have two more speakers and two more great champions of people with disabilities and caregivers. And the first one is Representative Rod Hamilton. I know there's some people from his neck of the woods. And I can remember back in 2000, I think it was 2009, when, check my notes, yes, in 2009, when there was a pretty significant cut that was moving its way through the House of Representatives. And on the floor, Representative Hamilton was able to find the money, do an amendment, and reduce that cut. And then in 2010, Governor Pawlenty had put in some more cuts in his budget. And Representative Hamilton orchestrated a letter that was signed by virtually every member of the Republican caucus. Rod's a Republican. By virtually every member of the Republican caucus, and the effect of it was the governor changed his budget proposal and proposed zero cuts. Those are days when you're in deficit. He's always been there whenever we have asked him to lead the charge. I know sometimes he's so passionate his eyes fill with tears, and I think that's great. And today, I want to thank him and welcome him, ladies and gentlemen, Representative Rod Hamilton.
Right there.
You know, it's pretty easy to stand up for something when it's the right thing to do, right? You know, this is fantastic. You look around, everybody coming out here and advocating for such a great cause. You know, they tell me that, 80% of success is simply showing up. And you have absolutely no idea how impactful it is to have you here. I tell you what, sharing your stories, sharing your successes, some of the challenges, the friendships that are made. Oh my goodness, I can't thank you enough for coming out here. And you know what, that's why I support. I support the 5% campaign because it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. And so, things like that make us tear out. Thank you. Appreciate it. So instead of asking today, who's gonna give this to us or whatever, let's say who's gonna stand in the way. It's the right thing to do. You have my support.
The only person that would be originally here would be actually, Janine's here. We probably, let's see.
2 years ago, a wonderful thing happened for the people of Minnesota, for people with disabilities, for older adults, for people with all abilities. That wonderful thing was the good people in Senator John Hoffman's district sent him here. And I gotta tell you right now, we're moving a lot of things forward on behalf of thousands of people with disabilities. And we're not only pushing for a rate increase, we're pushing for all kinds of other things. It's going to increase quality of care, increase the livelihood of people who take care of and support and serve people with disabilities. Ladies and gentlemen, right now, in this day and time, March 4th, 2014, you have no greater champion in the Minnesota legislature than Senator John Hoffman.
What did Bruce say earlier? What do we want? Let's do it again. One more time. I don't think they can and those who care for them. And you know what? It is time we do something about this. And the time, ready, is now, right? And we can do something. We can do something about this. It's your time to receive a wage increase, and that is this 5% campaign. So thank you for staying with me in this campaign. This should be our minimum. Don't settle on 4%. Tell them no, we want 5, right? What do we say? Yes! Home and community-based services, care facilities, empower older adults and people with disabilities to create the lives they choose. And you know what? And create the lives that you want and the lives that we want. Olmstead Act gave us that right. Isn't that right? Isn't it great? We should live more independently and no longer care on small wage increases. Matter of fact, it's been 6 years since we got a cost of living adjustment, and it's about time. And we're not going to settle on anything less than 5%. Is that right? And the only way to get high quality services is if we're paying our providers what they deserve. Exactly. That's what I hear you say. So here's what I want you to do. You can't stop. Today is not the end all. Today is the beginning. I said this last year. Today is the beginning. And you know what? It's always going to be the beginning. Send Governor Dayton a letter that says you won't settle for anything less than 5%. Are you with me on that? Send every legislator in this House a note that you will settle for no less than 5%. Are you with me on that? What do we want? What do we want? Go forth and make some passion. Thank you. Let's go.
Okay, folks, you know what to do. What you gotta do is you're gonna go out and meet with your legislators, and you're gonna thank them if they're supporting the bill. If they're not, you're gonna say, please support people with disabilities, older adults, 5%, 5%. When you get them home, write a letter, say thank you again. This isn't over. There's a lot of miles to cover. We've come a long, long way since last June when we first got organized, and you started meeting with legislators. Now we gotta close the deal. We're starting to close the deal today. So go out and meet with your legislators, thank them, and keep on. Keep on. Remember, if they don't hear from you, they think maybe it's okay not to take care of you. So if they're supporting, you thank them, thank them, thank them. If they're not, you say, please, please support our cause.